Hi Brolies, Marvin here from techbirol.com, where we do unboxings, reviews, and sexy birals. And today, I have a special video for you guys. And some of you may have known about the issue I had a month ago where I encountered a catastrophic failure of my hard drives docked in an external docking station. I've lost a lot of valuable files and it was a total disaster since I don't have a real-time backup. So today, we'll prevent that from happening again by using a network-attached storage device, also known as a NAS, in the form of the newly released Synology DS220 Plus. In this video, we'll discuss about what NAS is, and I will also guide you through the steps on how to set up one as your personal backup system. With that being said, let's get into it. Alright guys, before we start, I would just like to give a huge shout out to Synology for hooking me up with their latest Synology DS220 Plus NAS, and to Toshiba for sending over a couple of Toshiba 4TB and 300 NAS drives. It was actually perfect as I was really looking forward to trying Toshiba drives with this project. Now, for those of you who are not yet familiar, a NAS, also known as a network-attached storage, is a storage device independent from your host PC. This essentially means that it is a storage device with its own computer and is directly connected to your router and is accessible throughout your network that you can access with any device that you can think of, such as your PC, smartphone, tablets, and what have you. It is a highly versatile storage device that has a lot of application and use case scenarios, but for the sake of this video, we'll use it as a backup solution for our PC. And since it is independent of your PC, it is a perfect and safe option for backing up your files in case of file corruption, unintentional data deletion, and everything in between. Now, before I had the Synology DS220 Plus, I was just using an Orico external hard drive bay, and let's just say that it is a very sensitive docking station that one wrong move, let's say you accidentally power it off while the drives are still spinning, there's a huge chance that the drives will get corrupted, as I've encountered it twice already. After those two incidents, I said to myself, I really need a better storage solution than this, and that's where the Synology DS220 Plus comes in. Alright guys, with my backstory and brief introduction to NAS out of the way, let's unbox the Synology DS220 Plus and let me help you set it up for the first time. So the packaging for the Synology DS220 Plus is pretty simple, just a brown box with a sticker that has the details of the specific model, like its specifications, which I'll pop on the screen right now so that you can check it out. Around the box, we just have some branding, and at the back, we have more specifications and package contents that of course we'll see in a moment. We also have some of its key features on both sides of the box, and that's about it for the packaging. So let's see what comes in the package. Upon opening the box, even though it looks like a generic brown box, it actually feels a little bit more premium than that, and the first thing you'll notice is the Synology DS220 Plus NAS itself. Let me just put it aside for a second, and underneath it, we have the quick installation guide with some nice and easy to understand illustrations. And inside this compartment, we have the accessories. So we have the power cable, an Ethernet cable, and we actually have two of them since this NAS features two Ethernet ports. We also have the power adapter with the specifications, and lastly, we have a set of screws right here that I believe is for mounting 2.5-inch drives. And that's about it for the unboxing experience, and now, let's take a closer look around the Synology DS220 Plus network-attached storage device. So as you can see, it is nicely protected by this sort of cloth type material and not just your typical plastic, making it feel more premium. At first look and touch, it does have a decent weight to it, and the overall construction is made mostly out of hard plastic. Now on this side, we have a rather large Synology logo with stripe holes to it for ventilation, and we can also see a bit of the LED indicators here on this side. Flipping it on top, we don't have anything here, and turning it on the other side, pretty much the same design, and then on the front side, after peeling off the protection, reveals the front cover that has this combination of a glossy and matte finish. Now in front, we have the legends, status LED indicators for activity. Then we have a USB 3.0 port, a USB copy button, and the power button. We also have here the DS220 Plus model name and the front cover right here with a snap-in type design. Again, it has this combination of glossy and matte black finish with a bit of texture. Now, removing the front cover reveals the drive bays themselves with a toolless design that you can easily disconnect and pull away from the enclosure by pushing the locking mechanism on top. Pretty straightforward. Now at the back side, we have the 92mm fan, which as it seems possibly replaceable. We also have here the dual Ethernet ports, another USB 3.0 port, the power port, and the Kensington security slot. Overall, in terms of design and construction, it is pretty standard with any Synology disk stations with a stealthy design and robust build quality. We also have, by the way, at the bottom 4 rubber feet that are actually quite sticky and prevents this thing from moving around. Some ventilations and the usual technical details and certification sticker right here. So yeah, even though it is made mostly out of plastic including the drive base, it doesn't feel cheap at all. Now, speaking of drive base, installing a hard drive on this is pretty easy and requires no tools at all, at least for a 3.5-inch drive. All you have to do is remove the side locking clips on both sides, insert the drive in the correct orientation facing the SATA connection outside, lock it in place using the locking clips on both sides, and you're good to go to slide it inside the Synology DS220 Plus. If you want, you can also opt to screw the drive on the side, but personally, I don't think that is necessary. Now, installing the drives is equally easy. All you have to do is line it up and insert it slowly until you hear or feel it snapped on the locking mechanism. Cover it up and you're ready to set this up with your network. But before that, let me just introduce to you the hard drives that we're going to use for this project. Like I said earlier, Toshiba sent over a couple of their N300 drives which are specifically made for NAS with a 24/7 reliability and fast speed of up to 7200 RPM. As per my actual benchmark, it runs at around 205 MB per second for both sequential read and write operations, which are quite fast for a traditional spinning drive. Now, for those of you who are not yet familiar, NAS systems require NAS-specific compatible drives, so check the drive compatibility chart to make sure your NAS will work as intended. Alright guys, finally, let's set up the Synology DS220 Plus network attached storage and use it as a backup solution. Now, at first, you might think that the setup process will be complicated, but it's actually super simple. All you have to do is connect your Synology NAS to your network or home router via the Ethernet cable, power it on, and then type on your browser's address bar find.synology.com, and providing that your PC is also connected to the same network, it should be able to find the Synology NAS in no time. Now, once the Synology NAS is found, click Connect, read and accept the terms, of course, click on Setup, and then click Install. This will install the Synology Disk Station Manager or DSM, which is basically the operating system of your NAS, since a NAS, like I said earlier, has its own built-in computer inside. Now, make sure to use a clean drive that doesn't have any important files, as installing the DSM will erase all the data as stated here. Click OK and wait for the installation to finish. Once the installation is done, the Synology NAS will automatically restart. Once restarted, it will then ask you to create an admin account, and make sure to jot it down for future reference. It will also ask you to set up your Quick Connect account, which you will use to connect this NAS from different devices such as your PC, smartphones, and tablets. Once done, you'll have the specific Quick Connect URL that you can use with your other devices, and that's about it. Pretty straightforward, right? After the setup process, you're now inside the Synology Disk Station Manager. Now, I won't be discussing everything here since it will most likely take days and weeks to cover all the features and things that you can do here, but for the purpose of this video, we'll focus on how to set up a reliable backup solution for your PC using the Synology Drive Client and Server feature. First, we have to set up our volume, which means we need to initialize our hard drives much like what we usually do when installing new hard drives inside Windows. So go to Main Menu, Storage Manager, and as you can see, we have 2 unused drives. Click on the volume, create, and for this video, we'll just use the quick option, which will create an SHR volume, but I also suggest you do your own research on which type best suits your needs, but for me, SHR will do just fine. Again, setting this up will require the drives to be erased. Now, for the file extension, again, you can do your own research, but for me, BTRFS should get the job done. So as you can see, SHR or Synology Hybrid RAID allows us to have one drive fault tolerance, which essentially means that we have one drive redundancy in case one gets faulty at some point, we won't be losing any data, which is pretty important. Now, after creating the volume, it will take some time for the system to set it up and check for parity consistency, so be patient. Now that we have our volume, we can now set up our backup solution. Go to Package Center, type Synology Drive Server, and click Install. In my opinion, this is the most basic backup solution you can do with a Synology NAS, but there are a ton of other options like Hyper Backup, Snapshot Replication, Active Backup for Business, but that's a story for another day, and like I said, I want to help you out set up the most basic way to set up a NAS backup. Now, of course, a client-server handshake will require you to download the Synology Drive Client application from their website and install it on your PC so that you can set up the bridge between the Synology NAS and your PC's local hard drives. Now, once you're done installing both the Synology Drive Server and client applications, we need to create a shared folder between those two. So go to File Station, click OK to create a folder. Now in my case, I want to backup the entire folder for my Tech B-roll brand, so I named it Tech B-roll Master Backup. Click Next, and if you want, you can enable encryption, but I opt not to for now. Then enable data checksum for data integrity. Click Next and click Apply. Now we have our main shared folder that I can backup my files from my local PC. Now after that, open the Synology Drive Server application. Go to the team folder, and as you can see, our shared folder is not yet enabled, so we have to enable that up so that the Synology Drive Client application will have access to it. Next, open the Synology Drive Client application on your PC, and you actually have two choices here. One is the sync task, which basically will sync the files on both your local PC and inside the Synology Drive continuously. This is good for team collaboration, wherein several people are accessing and saving data quite frequently inside the server, or if you simply want to make sure that your files are in sync on both sides. Now, the other option is the regular backup task that will backup your files depending on your desired frequency. And in my case, I will choose the backup task for backing up my static and not frequently updated files. Now, you can log in either by using your Quick Connect ID or just manually type in the server address or domain name of your NAS. Once connected, you now have the option to choose which local files from your computer to be backed up to your Synology NAS server inside the shared folder that we've created earlier. After that, it will also ask you the frequency of the backup process, and as you can see, you also have the option for continuous backup, but it will just back up the updated files to save some processing resources. You can also choose manual backup and schedule tasks. In my case, I want to make sure that all my updated files are being backed up continuously. And that's pretty much it. As long as your local PC and Synology Drive is connected on the same network, your files are safe and will always be backed up with OneDrive redundancy. Now, before you leave the Synology Drive client, double check the settings and make sure it will start up alongside Windows and verify that all the other settings suits your preference. Well, of course, I gotta show you how to set up via the sync method, so let's get into it. For this, the same thing, you may want to create a separate shared folder for your sync files, and I did this primarily as a file collaboration option for me and my wife. So instead of sending files via Messenger or email or USB drive, we just put our files inside the shared folder, and at the same time, it is being saved and synced on one of the local folders inside my PC. So once the new folder is created, of course, we have to enable that as well inside the Synology Drive server. Once enabled, we can now open our Synology Drive client on our PC, go to Sync Tasks, click Create Sync Task, click Next to connect to your Synology NAS, and in here you have the option to sync files between your shared folder inside the Synology NAS and a folder on your computer, or sync selected files shared with you. In my case, I chose the sync folder option. After that, you will have the option to choose the location on your local PC where you want to store the sync files, and of course, the location inside your Synology NAS server, which in my case, the newly created workspace sharing folder. Now, once that's done, any file that I put inside the G Drive Synology Drive folder will automatically be uploaded to the workspace sharing folder and vice versa. So essentially, the difference between the backup task and the sync task is that the backup task is only one way, wherein your local files are being backed up to your Synology NAS drive. On the other hand, the sync task will basically update both folders continuously regardless of where the change happened. Now, those functionalities are not absolute, as you still have a lot of options that you can explore around these two backup options. Now, while we're at it, I also did a quick file transfer test so that you can have an idea how much transfer rate you can expect from the Synology DS220 Plus with a Toshiba N300 over the network. So I transferred our standard 18.8GB of 4K video project, and as you can see, we are transferring around 113 MB per second, give or take, which is pretty decent in my opinion for a network-attached storage device. And that's about it, guys. As you can see, the setup process is a little bit lengthy at first, but overall, it is pretty straightforward, and I think anyone can do it by just following the on-screen instructions. Now, like I said, aside from using it as a backup solution, there are a bunch of other applications that you can install and use with a Synology NAS, and you can explore that inside the package center. You can use this as a server for different applications like a surveillance station, web server, multimedia server, and a bunch of others, and it's actually almost the sky's the limit. So to conclude, I understand that getting a Synology NAS and hard drives to go along with it is quite expensive, but in my opinion, having a peace of mind for your valuable and irreplaceable files are totally worth it. Think of it as a good investment that should last you a long time. Now, partner this with a reliable UPS or uninterrupted power supply and you're good to go to just minding your business and not worrying about losing your files anymore. And that's exactly what I feel right now compared to when I was just using a standard hard drive bay without any sort of backup and redundancy, and I suggest you do the same for the sake of your sanity. And there you have it guys, thank you for watching. Huge thanks to Synology and Toshiba for allowing this special project to happen. You can get the Synology DS220 Plus and the Toshiba N300 drives using the link below. Thank you for watching, subscribe if you like this, and see you next time. Have a great day guys, you're awesome.